Hi everybody! Today we are going to start our notes on factoring and graphing polynomials. So the first thing that we're going to do in this set of notes is to go over the vocabulary, and it's very important to know what these words mean and what they represent. So the first one is 0. So a 0 is an x value that makes the function equal to 0. You can see a 0 on the graph when it crosses or bounces on the x-axis. And remember, on your graph, that's the horizontal axis. Looking at the equation, you can tell how many zeros it has by looking at the degree. So if it is x to the third, that's 3 zeros. If it was x to the 8th, that'd be 8 zeros. So if you can tell the degree, you can figure out how many zeros you're supposed to have. Factor. So a factor is closely related to a 0, except for it's not the same. If the 0 of a function is positive, then the factor will be negative. For example, if the 0 is 5, the factor is x minus 5. And all the factors always have an x. So that was a positive 5, and this was a minus 5. And then lastly is end behavior. So this is what's happening at the end of the graph. And a graph can either be positive or negative. If the function is positive, then the graph ends up. Oops. I kind of wrote those weird. Let's try again. We'll write positive and up. And if the function is negative, the graph ends down. So this first example, we're going to look at the graph, identify the zeros. So you can see that zeros are where we're crossing the x-axis. So in this case, there are 3. And you'll just count to see where they're at. So this one is negative 1, 2, 3, negative 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, negative 9, and positive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's where we're crossing. So just listing the zeros is pretty easy, but you have to look at the graph and see what's happening. Something specific I want to talk about. See how these are going right through the axis? This one is special because there's a bounce. So if you imagine like dribbling a basketball and the x-axis is the floor, it's bouncing right back up. So it's important to know that there's a bounce. And you can see how this is ending up. This is actually a positive graph. You don't really need to know that for this particular problem, but in the future you will need to know. So listing the zeros, and at 5 there's a bounce, so I always like to write right by that 0 that there's a bounce, because that'll change the factor. And number 2, can you identify the zeros? Hopefully, they're right here. There again are 3 of them. They're at negative 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And all of them are going straight through. You can see they're cutting right through the x-axis, so there's no bounces there. And this one is ending down, right? It's obviously going down, so we call that negative. Alrighty. So the main point of today is to give, when you're given an equation, to use your graphing calculator to factor the following polynomials. So the first thing we need to do is go to our calculator. So if you don't have one out right now, take a second to take out your calculator, and we're going to type in this equation. So I'm going to go to my calculator, go to y equals, and you may need to hit the clear button. You may have to hit clear to clear it out. And we're going to type in this function right here. So x to the third minus 8x squared, we use that caret key for an exponent, minus 23x plus 30. And then I'm going to go zoom 6 to look at that good standard graph. and we needed to look at visually where this graph crosses the x-axis. So I notice across 3 times, 1, 2, 3, and then here over on the right you could kind of see it, and that's good because my degree of this polynomial is 3, so that means I need 3 zeros. So you're just going to count, so negative 1, 2, 3, and positive 1. So negative 3, positive 1, then all the way over to the right, you're going to count to 10, and we have 10. So then we need to factor this out. So I need to remember back from when we did vocabulary at the beginning that zeros and factors are opposite. So that is x plus 3, x minus 1, and x minus 10, because again they have to be opposite. And that's the answer. We've got 3 factors all being multiplied together, x plus 3, x minus 1, and x minus 10. And that's it. You're just using your calculator to help you factor. So let's go to number 2, and I actually need you to cross out the problem you have on your notes and rewrite the one that I wrote above. So x to the 4th plus x to the 3rd minus 27x squared plus 27x plus 54. You're going to go back to y equals, press clear, and type in this one for number 2. So x to the 4th plus x to the 3rd minus 27x squared plus 27x plus 54. We're going to go zoom 6, as we always do to look at our graph. We're going to identify the zeros. So again, we're going to count. So negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So negative 6, negative 1, and then positive 3, 1, 2, 3. But make sure we write that there is a bounce there, right? It's clearly bouncing right off that x-axis. So that's very, very important when we go to factor. So remember, our factors are opposite, so x plus 6, x plus 1, and x minus 3. But we need to square that x minus 3 because there's a bounce. So anytime there's a bounce, you have to square it. So imagine if we go back to this problem right here, and I wrote out the factors. I have x plus 3, x plus 9, and then x minus 5 squared. And I'd square the 5 because there's a bounce. So that's important. So at the bottom of your note sheet, I want you to write down square the factor if there is a bounce. Alrighty, so those are the notes for factoring polynomials. So you may now go ahead and work on your in-class practice. Great job.